All right, here we go, everybody. Welcome to it. So we're back again. This is back-to-back days where I'm getting on the microphone and talking about what we're doing. But this is a really big one. We've been a partner with Peak for a long time, and we had Leo on. That was great, but we haven't talked yet. The community hasn't met Martin yet, and Martin was actually the first guy at Peak that I met. So it's going to be. I speak to him about just about every week. So it's not like a new thing for me to speaking to Martin, but it'll be the first time that the community gets to see the two of us talking. So that should be fun. I also noticed yesterday's broadcast when I was going back and clipping clips from my talk with Gadget Leo. I might have been too close to the microphone. It was popping a little bit. So I'm going to try to move back, change the game, and see if we can't get this to be nicer. If you don't know who we are, and there might be some people who don't yet know who YOM is, let me just go through that real quick. YOM is a DePIN. We are a decentralized cloud gaming network. So what we do is we allow game studios and publishers to put their AAA quality games, AAA quality games onto our network, and then we give them a link, a stream that they can embed inside of any URL on any website, inside of Telegram channels, inside of Discord channels. Like we're a different kind of cloud gaming network in that we don't force players through a platform that has a subscription or anything like that. We just say to the game developers, however you want to reach your players, we're going to assist you to do that. We'd like to open up the access big and wide. So that means anybody who's got a small end laptop or a mobile phone that maybe have been shut out of these high quality games, they can now play because our network is streaming them from to the end user through the website or through the other social media channels. And then people who do have a gaming rig who want to earn passive income, like every other DePIN seeker, people are looking to make passive income. This is a big part of, I think, our talk today. They can put their gaming rig up on our network when they're not using it, and we pay them to allow us to use their rig to stream the content to the end user. It's a very powerful system. There's a calculator on our website. If you go to www.yom.net and go to the nodes page, you'll see there's a calculator there that will give you an estimate of how much you can earn monthly. We're averaging about $50 a stream, and depending on your graphics card, you can run anywhere between 2 to 8 streams. So it can be a fair amount of passive income for people who've got a big gaming rig at home. That's a high-list level, quickest version of explaining what YOM is to everybody. Let me bring up Martin so we can start this conversation rolling. Martin, how are you today?
Very well. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, as you said, we speak quite frequently, but nevertheless, super excited to be here and to speak to your community and share some insights. Speak about one of my favorite projects in all of crypto. So super excited.
Thanks. Yeah. We've met the first time. It was Austin, and it was probably a year and a half ago. I think it was like in early summer in Austin, it was nice and hot. But we met up and we had barbecue, Texas barbecue.
The greatest barbecue I've ever had in my life. I will never forget this.
And we started talking about DePIN and our mutual feelings about why this is a sector in the blockchain space is so important. Not just because overall for many reasons really, but I kind of wanted to redo that conversation because it always makes me feel more energized when I speak to you. You're one of the most positive people about DePIN. I mean, kind of everybody is, but you've got a great way to express it. But do you remember some of the big takeaways we took out of that conversation over brisket?
Yeah, for sure. Right. I mean, I don't really know where to start, but just as a kind of punchy sentence that I've kind of came across last week, where I thought about YOM and what you guys are doing, and which kind of summarizes a lot of what DePIN is all about, and we can dive deeper into it. Gaming should be a human right, right? And what that means is that everybody should have access to it, regardless whether they have like a super powerful gaming rig or whether they're just using a relatively low performing smartphone. And DePIN enables this, and we can dive much deeper into this, into what DePIN means, how DePIN is a crucial part of what we call the machine economy, which peaq was designed for from the very first day. But really, this is how I would summarize it in one sentence, right? Gaming should be a human right, and then you can basically extrapolate that. You can say connectivity should be a human right, mobility should be a human right, any sort of infrastructure should be a human right that is that people can access. And where people get rewarded for providing the necessary resources that allow other people to tap into these infrastructure networks.
Okay, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, and we've when you and I talk about this, we talk about the need for entertainment. Like we as a species just have to have some level. I mean, it can't be your entire life unless, of course, you're making video games, and then in some cases it ends up being your entire life. But you really do need to have a way to kind of decompress, to reconnect with other people. A lot of the games now are social, so it's about connecting with other people. And it is already the largest entertainment industry out there. It makes more money than TV, music, and movies combined. So we know that the market is huge, which is why when we started talking about gaming in DePIN, it seemed like a no-brainer because it's already a huge marketplace. Cloud gaming is already projected to do a lot of money, but there is some hardware constraints with the centralized model, a lot of hardware constraints. So decentralizing that and making that a DePIN was really kind of, oh yeah, well that makes absolute sense, and there's a real need and a marketplace for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And as you know, right, like, and I think this is why when I first stumbled across you guys, I was immediately hooked because I have a background in media, right? So
Right.
For those of you who don't know who I am and what I do, maybe just a couple of
done that. Sorry.
No, it's fine, but like it's the perfect bridge to it, right? So actually, I started my career as a journalist. I was like a news reporter at one of the largest broadcasters in Europe, and then joined Bertelsmann Group, which is one of the largest media and services and basically entertainment companies in the world, right? So Penguin Random House, which is like the largest trade book publisher, is owned by Bertelsmann. The music label BMG is owned by Bertelsmann. Production company Fremantle, as an example. The biggest European content creator house, which is called We Are Era, is also part of Bertelsmann. So I have a very strong kind of footprint in the entertainment industry, in the media industry. And what is very special about gaming is that in kind of I mean, there've been experiments, right, where people try to kind of tweak TV series so that they become more interactive and that people get more involved. But the special thing about gaming is that people don't only get to consume alternative realities, right? They get to create them. And this is what I think differentiates gaming as a, let's say, entertainment tool so much from any other sort of media, right? I mean, you can watch your favorite TV show and you can watch it with your friends and you can talk about it, but it's not the same experience, I mean, everyone who ever played video games knows how special it is to be online with your friends, regardless of what game you play. I think probably during COVID, I became like a part-time Call of Duty Warzone addict because that was the only way I could hang out with my friends and actually experience something, right?
Right.
In the bit of spare time that I had, and this is something that is very special, right? And then you think about how many people actually don't even have access and an opportunity to participate in that, right? And to get to enjoy these great experiences, which have their downsides, but if you look at it from the positive angle, it's fueling creativity, right? It's something that is really developing the brains of the people in a positive way. It depends on what you play, of course, right? But the opportunity is unbelievable. And so then I was at Bertelsmann, just to basically briefly summarize, and then I kind of led our VC investments in the African market, and in that time, being someone who's always been very interested in Web3 and crypto, I just realized, okay, if I look at the types of services that this group is providing, right, be it the TV broadcasting industry, be it the publishing industry, be it the advertisement industry, the education industry, like there's almost no angle of the core business models that the group kind of is running that is not going to be in some shape or form affected by blockchain technology, right? And specifically when you're in Africa, and you kind of learn to understand the market dynamics there, and you see some of the very obvious challenges that exist, then it becomes very clear how powerful this technology can be. And then I managed to was very lucky and got great support also from some of the key stakeholders in the group, and then built this Web3 hub at Bertelsmann back then. And that is where we then did multiple things, obviously invested quite actively in funds, set up generative ventures as one example. And this is the time I met where I met peaq for the first time. And what really kind of struck me was whenever I was trying to pitch or sell this whole Web3 topic internally to the board, right, or like to the chief executives at the group level, it was very difficult to explain, because these open economies, even though we understand the value propositions that they have, in very rare instances are they actually tied to the real world, right? You can explain why Bitcoin is appreciating in value. You can explain why Ethereum is appreciating in value, but it's very difficult to make that clear to someone who's never looked into it, right? And so
Right.
then I spoke to I think it was Till who I met the first time, and we spoke about what they are building, and that was literally the very first time that I could have a conversation with the board where they would say, okay, I actually do understand what you are talking about. And that is because when we're speaking about decentralizing any sort of infrastructure, be it digital infrastructure or physical infrastructure, but specifically physical infrastructure, we are talking about, or we are applying a terminology that everybody can understand who has ever read a balance sheet, right? We are talking about reducing capital expenses, reducing operational costs, and we're talking about using tokens in that specific case, right, to incentivize and to coordinate human behavior. And what really blew my mind was those people actually understood it, and everybody got to the gist of what peaq as an infrastructure is actually building. And it was always about the machine economy, right? It was always about this future where a lot will happen in the digital realm, right? This is where YOM is so much more than just, let's say, a gaming DePIN, right? It's a core architecture that is enabling us as a civilization to actually fuel this huge digital economy that is growing every single second, right? But on a wider global scale, it's this movement, this DePIN movement, is what will empower autonomous machines to consume resources, to navigate the space, to be accessible to people. And we always speak about this machine economy needing to be human-centric, and giving people a stake in this machine economy. And this is what DePIN enables, right? And so for us, DePIN will probably be the biggest component of global infrastructure within the next couple of years, simply because YOM is a great example, right? Like the compute problem, you will not be able to solve in a centralized environment. It is economically impossible, right?
Yeah.
And so it's so true for so many other things. You will never get a large telco in Africa to tap into a completely underutilized geography, simply because economically it doesn't make sense for them. You can force them to do it,
Right.
if you have the leverage, which you usually don't, right? Or it will not happen. So the only way to actually bring this critical infrastructure everywhere, make it accessible, and really unlock also the idle resources that we are all kind of sitting on, is the DePIN business model. And that is where that whole thing is so huge. And YOM is a huge role in this. Yeah.
So we talk about this now a lot too, because it's an easy one to explain to people. When you have trying to run a game on a cloud that's based on an Amazon server, that Amazon server building, in order to expand, has to be, well, in order for that centralized server network to expand, they've got to build another building in another region and disrupt that environment and that residential area, and then they're spending money to expand. In our case, we're actually earning money when we expand, because we're making the hardware available to somebody else to earn, so they can earn passive income. But our costs are super, super low. And when we want to upgrade when someone upgrades their gaming rig at home, they've automatically upgraded our network. So we don't have to go out and shut a whole bunch of machines down and then bring a whole section down and then spend all the money to upgrade cards inside of the big server rack. Yeah. We instead are just watching as each player goes out and says, well, it's time I've earned enough money now to get myself a new graphics card, and the money that they've earned increases our network's capabilities, which is just, and this is, that's our example from YOM, but every DePIN has that availability, right? When the DePINs are running off of phones, when the phones get upgraded, their network gets better, and all that just translates all the way down the line.
Yeah, but I would say YOM is special in a sense, because you are at this intersection where what people are providing resources to is genuinely exciting. So the thing is, like, I mean, I have to admit, I was never like a heavy gamer, right? And I was more like a console player. But like, if I think about my brother, for example, right, like he was very much into like gaming on his computer, and like many of my friends would be the same. They would just kind of save up money to get like a new graphic card and just pimp their PC as much as they can, right? Like, and tune it so that they have like this massive machine. And so now suddenly you already have a very passionate community of gamers that spends money on improving the hardware infrastructure, right? Now what you'd say is basically, look, continue to do what you do, but while you're doing it, just make sure that while you're not using your resources, make them accessible to anybody else, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
they start basically, it's almost like they are starting to treat their expenses as an investment in the future, right? And so, and that is such a powerful dynamic, because specifically when we speak about the compute resources that you need for any sort of virtual environment, any sort of digital experience, we know how scarce this resource is. We, like, everybody knows that the amount of available compute in centralized environments will not be able to fuel the digital economy that we see in the next couple of years. Plus, obviously, GPU is not only used for gaming, right? It's used for a variety of different types of use cases.
Yeah.
So the only way to also provide that resilience and stability for a network, specifically when you look at how many people are, like, I don't have the numbers, but like every single minute of the day, there's like millions and millions of people that are playing, probably it's in the hundreds of millions, I don't know, that are playing like video games. Like, how are you supposed to make that accessible and stabilize this in a way where everybody can access it? The only way is to decentralize it and make it accessible.
Right. Right. And as you're saying, games is just really the start for us. What we're really saying is we're laying down the tracks for what will be the 3D internet. So all the interactions, your social media interactions, your retail interactions, all that will be done in a 3D space, through your website. We already have this with the YOM network as we currently stand. You can have your avatar, if it's built in the same engine as this experience and this experience built by the same engine, you can bring it from one website to another website without having to leave the 3D realm. So we've done some pretty big things already that, again, lay the tracks for the 3D internet. We're excited about all these things that we can do. And then the idea that we can dropping it into social media channels like a Discord or a Telegram so that people can spread it around pretty rapidly. That's also a big part of what we offer. So tell me, let's talk a little bit about the peaq ecosystem, because I think a lot of people who are tuning in from our community wanted to hear about, how is peaq doing? What's the next steps? Where's the exciting parts of peaq going? And then I think the marketplace, all those things. So without saying what you can't say yet, what can you say about where peaq is? Yeah.
That's always the biggest challenge, right? So, I mean, basically when I joined, which is, time flies, like 1.5 years ago by now. Since then, obviously, a lot has happened. As many of you who have seen like YOM kind of coming to peaq, which we are absolutely thrilled about, right? The ecosystem has grown to, by now, I think if we count the projects we haven't announced and the projects that we will be announcing soon, we have an ecosystem that is probably 70 projects, right? That are on the network. Some of them are live, some of them are going live very soon. Many of them will go live with Get Real as well, right? Make it accessible for you guys to use them, right? To earn from using them, to earn from the value that you guys are creating. So that's a big update. Get Real is starting very soon. I know people want alpha, but we have announced like a rough timeline, and we will not say more than this. So you will see it when you'll see it, but it's soon. And obviously, one big thing that we like gradually rolled out with a very, very strong team that we're also very fortunate to be working alongside with is MachineX, which is the world's first DePIN DEX, and we rolled it out quite carefully, right, and slowly, and obviously this will be ramped up soon as well. But the goal of MachineX really is to become the DEX of the machine economy, and the first DePINs are there. Projects that launched on peaq, but also projects that expanded from our other ecosystems, and that will continue. You will see many more DePIN tokens, robotics tokens on peaq in the future, in the near future, and also you will soon be able to use MachineX in the way that you will not be able to use any other DEX. This will take a bit of time because there are some bigger strategic initiatives that we're working on, and I think I'm not giving too much away when I say a lot of it is also sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly related to the machine economy free zone that we have in the UAE. where the partnerships are also progressing fairly well, and we will hopefully soon be able to follow up with some very nice news and announcements. So in a nutshell, I would say we've been spending the last couple of months on growing the ecosystem, relaunching Get Real, which obviously was a very, very important thing for us to really deliver on that promise that we made last year. And so hopefully very soon, again, I can't give away much more. We will
I've
all
always
be able
said that to me, okay, so I spent many years making video games in the traditional way, and then came over into the Web3 making games. And I always said that the one of the core differences in my mind is not necessarily that blockchain's involved in the games. One of the big differences is the way that the projects interact with the communities. In the gaming world, when we are going to make a game, we either it never gets announced, or it gets announced and then the team goes quiet for 2 years, and then when there's something visible to show, then we actually start to build a community and build it, and build up that hype. But that's after the game's mostly already made, with the exceptions of like Grand Theft Auto 6, which is going to consistently announce and delay. But in the crypto space, it's different, right? A lot of our projects and a lot of our communities were built at the very beginning, and so the impatience level, it's some ways it's a little unfair to us, but not entirely, because again, we did open the doors up. If we open the doors up, people come in. It's our own fault if we're not being able to consistently, inform our community what we're doing. But at the same time, it's hard to make the case to the community that some of the stuff takes a long amount of time. Like again, a game takes 2 years. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of the Web3 games had such headaches, because people were immediately expecting the game to be built inside of 6 months, and that's just not how it happens. And this technology is the same.
It's not only with, let's say, like these growth campaigns. I mean, look, Get Real, to give you one example, right? Like Get Real is something the industry has never seen before. Like, and this is not me over exaggerating in my role. It's a fact, right? Like usually, the adoption campaigns in crypto, how they usually look like. It's like follow, subscribe, provide liquidity, and that's it. But now what we are doing is we have this campaign where we are putting our efforts and resources all into one place, which is to grow and scale the projects in the ecosystem, right? So what we're dealing with is not just our network and our infrastructure and the necessary integrations in order to get things going. We also need to make sure that the different DePIN apps are working smoothly with the network, that the user experience is good, and that everybody is enjoying it. And it's a very complicated thing to build, So that doesn't change the fact that we are, like, nobody's more disappointed about how it went down the last time than we are. Like, trust me when I say this. But the only thing that I'm trying to say is sometimes, and you're mentioning a very important point, it feels like there is an expectation things just need to happen quickly, And there is one, in my opinion, fundamental truth, which is if you build something meaningful, and if you have the ambition that we have, which is like, and you can speak to anyone within peaq and they will tell you the same thing. Like, nobody says, hey, like, we really want to make the best out of the cycle and then leave and chill somewhere in the Bahamas, right? Like, what we are building is civilization scale infrastructure, like we're talking about bringing billions and billions of machines on the network, democratizing the abundance of the machine economy. The whole chain was designed for that purpose. That is why we have runtime native IDs. That is why we have standards that are part of the runtime of the chain, like access controls, like the ability to verify the reputation of a certain machine, like an own machine subsidization pool, which nobody ever talks about, that we have in the network, where a percentage of all the transaction fees goes into that machine subsidization pool, right? To subsidize machines. Like, if you build something for the very long-term future, and the same is true also for the things that are now finally unfolding on the robotics side of things, on the machine economy free zone. When you're speaking about real meaningful partnerships that go beyond the marketing value and the announcement value, these things take time, and I fully understand it, right? Like, I'm a very impatient person. I'm really, like, not the type of guy that like is relaxing all the time and things like let's delay it, it's fine, we do it tomorrow. Nothing can happen soon enough, but we need to acknowledge that and really understand if you want to do something meaningful, it takes time. And the same is true for you guys, right? I mean, the way you have the decision you've taken, how you've, I mean, we speak about it every week. I don't know what I can share here, right? But like also on the strategic partnership side, you know, like really getting the right stakeholders in place, talking to traditional enterprises, you know, trying to use this technology that nobody really understands. Plus, you have this huge kind of leverage in your backpack of all the bad things that went down in crypto in the last couple of years, where everybody is hesitant to deal with it anyways.
Right.
But to just conclude this, don't worry. A lot of stuff. We've been in the kitchen for a long time, and soon it's time to serve.
So it's what you were just talking about the machine economy, right? And the way that having the transfer of value to happen machine to machine and letting people play a part in that. I had a conversation this past weekend with my brother-in-law about what AI is doing to the job market and the concerns he has with his two daughters who are growing up and worried that, are they going to have the right skills? Is there going to be a way to make income in the future if AI is taking all these different jobs away? And I said to him, I think you've got to look at this differently. What we're talking about is a change to the economic model where ownership is what pays for it. It gives you your income. So owning part of the machine economy is, I think, might be the way you would put it. But owning the equipment that powers these infrastructure networks is going to be one of those ways that people are able to earn income in this new modern economic time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so strange if you look at it in a very abstract way. Like, for example, how was the peaq idea born, right? Like, it was an Audi, like a Volkswagen Group Audi VP that called one of our founders and said, "Look, I have a problem every single time I want to charge my Audi EV at my father-in-law's charging station, which is a Porsche charging station. I have to give him €5 to cover for the electricity cost in cash," which is weird, but that's Germany, right? So
Right.
you need to do this. And now think about this, right? What that means is, even though Porsche and Audi are both parts of the Volkswagen Group, the car cannot communicate or transact with the charging station. This is ridiculous, you know?
Yeah,
but this is the reality of the entire economy that we're living in, because everything is in proprietary API silos. So you cannot have an autonomous machine economy that flourishes where machines can coordinate with one another, pay each other, consume data, and unlock this literally $100 trillion economic opportunity within a centralized environment. And the only way to unlock it is through a open source network that has the standards possible for every machine to be intercomposable with any other machine, where all the necessary systems, policies, governance standards, which all obviously is what kind of translates back to the utility of the peaq token, right? Are guaranteed through the native utility of the network itself, plus without the necessary projects that enable you to basically participate in that global economy and provide the necessary resources. And so if we speak about this massive shift in the labor markets, probably the biggest one we've ever seen as a species, right? Where in the future robot, and it's happening right now. I mean, soon you'll see some examples of that on peaq as well. But where machines are doing labor, right?
Yeah.
Where does that leave us? Like, if we as a species are not at the center of global value creation, that is a big problem. Specifically, if the value creation now is completely owned by a handful of centralized entities. And
Right.
And the alternative, really, and this is where the beautiful element of what we're talking about comes in, this transformation can be a good thing, but it can only be a good thing if we make sure that we have a system that is based on meritocracy principles. And so the more you provide in terms of value, the more infrastructure you provide, the more you participate in this machine economy, the more you become a part of it, the more you are also earning from it. And it's open and everybody can do it, and not just a handful of people. And they can govern it together. This is where we are taking this huge dystopia into a big utopia, because now suddenly this massive unlock of new value is decentralized. The abundance is going back to the people, and that is what we all want to see. So I see the fear that your who was it, your brother-in-law?
Yep.
Yeah, that he has. And I said the same thing in a podcast like 3 weeks ago, where I said that I was asked this. Nobody ever asked me that question, but he said, like, when you look at your children, like, what is it that drives you when it comes to building peaq? And I said, and it just came out, and usually these things are like the most meaningful things. I said, look, I don't want my children to live in a world where they are redundant as a species, right? And this is exactly where that whole machine economy, decentralized machine economy thing comes in. And again, if you can provide value by providing compute, it's much more than that. Like, you don't just provide a physical resource. You provide an experience to people that are in marginalized places in the world, while at the same time creating economic value. So in a sense, you're reducing like the cost curve of sustainability, if we want to call it this way, and impact, to a point where it's actually economically superior to the traditional model. And this is the only way that you can actually have these innovations applied at scale.
Yeah, it's funny because we over here, I've kind of said almost the same thing a little bit differently. When I say to the kids, I need you to be producers, not consumers. Like, I don't want you to just sit there and watch your phones forever, watching video after video. I taught my son how to use video editing software, make content, right? If you're going to like be someone who gives some kind of value back to the world. I don't like the idea of in the future that they just get a universal income. Everyone just gets, because that seems to me like it's going to disincentivize many of the population to just not really achieve anything but consuming things. I think that's bad for us as a species.
And who are you receiving it from, right?
Right. That's the other thing too. Yeah.
Other thing, right? You receive it from, you don't have agency. If you don't have agency, like, you're limited in your basic like probably the most important element of your life, which is your own individual freedom. That is the exactly what we don't want, right? Like, I think, and this is where we all are so spiritually aligned, right? Like you guys, us, and many of the other great projects in the ecosystem, where it needs to be a meritocracy, and it needs to preserve some of the most fundamental aspects of our lives.
Yeah. I do have a question here from Crypto Leo or Gadget Leo on Twitter. He's asking, are there any agenic projects coming to the peaq ecosystem? I don't know what that word, agenic.
I think
to automate DeFi and blockchain ops.
Yeah, like on the second part, I won't speak about it because I might I want to be careful not to give too much away, but of course, right? I think we've just recently had Newcoin joining. I highly recommend you to check it out. It's a project that has been building for a very long time. Has just recently decided, after we've had very, very fruitful conversations with the founder, to natively build on peaq, and the project is also launching very soon. Again, no dates, but very soon. And it's a quite cool approach that they have chosen. So basically, I try to simplify it as much as I can. So basically, it's like an alternative, a very strong alternative to ChatGPT, where you can use it the same way that you're using ChatGPT, but you can basically have agents that represent certain people, and you have a network of creators and a network of contributors that make sure that the AI is actually consistently trained, but not from kind of random feedback, but from like curated individual feedback. And they have lots of users already. And the cool thing is that they will go live with their product on peaq, and they will use peaq as their utility token. So what that means is that all the contributors in the platform will basically receive peaq tokens as rewards. And these peaq tokens are not just randomly airdropped. They are basically bought from the revenues that Newcoin is generating. So that's one great example. Another one, also one of my absolute favorites in the ecosystem since day one, is Teneo. Teneo basically built what I consider to be probably the biggest revolution in the history of social media, which the underutilized resource that they are tapping into is basically the search bar requests that you have within your social media account, right? So probably you don't know it, but just for the sake of a unique experience and a big waste of your time, try to do more than 10,000 search bar requests on X and see what happens. It's capped, right?
Okay.
And nobody ever uses these resources. So what they basically do is you provide your X account, not the data, right? Just kind of these free search bar requests, and so they can permanently load with their AI agents. They're loading the feed in different social media platforms consistently, and so you can basically chat with these agents and basically ask them, hey, like live data about anything that you want to know what is going on with these platforms. Like give me the last 10 posts, like from this moment on, about a certain topic. How is the sentiment about this and that, right? And they will just give you that data on a live basis. So one of my absolute favorites, also going live very, very soon. You can use it obviously already, but they will also go live with the main product soon without giving much away. And there's many others. Obviously on the machine DeFi side, agents play a huge role, right? Taking real world yield and doing something great with it. But I cannot speak about that in too much detail.
Okay. All right. Well, we're coming about the time. So for us, we try to push people to sign up for our newsletter, because it's going to be the signal to when the node sales go live and when they can start purchasing those. For to get involved with peaq, what's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, before we go there, like in case you guys are not involved with YOM yet, do it. Like I don't do this because I was told to do it, or like nothing like this, right? No. Like we are having a really genuine conversation. And one thing I think you need to know about the team is that they are so relentless and they are working so hard with so much conviction every single day. And I was fortunate to basically get to know the whole team like more than a year ago. And since then, obviously, we've been in touch so frequently, and they consistently, and this is one thing that really is outstanding, think about how can we make our product better, and how can we make sure that our community and those that are using this product are going to be the ones that are actually benefiting from it. And this is something, even within great projects, that is very, very, very hard to find. So if you want to get involved with the peaq ecosystem in a meaningful way, the best way is to sign up with the YOM newsletter, right? And to make sure that you support them as much as you can. Get one of these notes. I'm obviously also getting one. There's no doubt about this. And I'll have a lot of idle resources because I don't game. So, and then beyond that, of course, follow us on our socials. Make sure that you frequently check out the peaq portal that will also soon be updated with some cool additional functions. Sign up for our newsletter, but make sure to really kind of stay alerted, watch what is happening in the ecosystem by following us on X and by looking into the announcements that are coming in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be also at KBW with quite a big presence. Yeah, which so if you happen to be there, drop by our booth. I guarantee you will not regret it. I think Jeff knows our booths are always great,
very big, and we'll be there too. Andy's is talking there to you now about setting up his time there.
Exactly. And this one, without giving too much away, is going to be the greatest booth we've ever had, and
really?
it will bring a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about for 7 years. You will not only be able to see it, you will be able to feel it. So that is what I can say about that.
Nice. Yeah, because the Singapore booth was pretty damn impressive too. But if you're topping that one, now I'm kind of jealous of Andy.
I'm not. No comment.
All right. Well, thanks again, Martin. I appreciate you coming on board, and we can do this again later on down the track too. So
no, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And thanks for your support to YOM, right? Keep it up, spread the word, and let's make sure that YOM is becoming one of the big unicorns in the peaq ecosystem.
Yes, yeah, let's do that. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be